Each of us have talents and abilities that make us unique. The discovery of these gifts can uncover your life's purpose, reveal what makes you special, and how that knowledge can change your life.
Each soul is born with an array of skills, strengths, and aptitudes. You, like everyone, have special talents that equip you for a creative, fulfilling life. You came into this lifetime with the assets you would need to be a success. Some of your talents have emerged naturally, abilities that simply are second nature for you. However, many other strong points have required some work or training in order to develop and mature. They've been like seeds that you were given at birth, but they sprout and grow only if you carefully nurture them. The desire to look deep within the soul and find what makes us special is a part of our human makeup. As a spiritual counselor working throughout the first half of the 20th century, Edgar Cayce gave personal advice to nearly 2,000 individuals who are trying to find their soul talents. His approach to finding these gifts can be a good starting point for any of us today.
Every person is a unique creation, with distinct gifts to offer the world around. But sometimes we shy away from those gifts because we lack a positive self-concept, or we're fearful of what our talents would require of us. Known as the Jonah complex, this human tendency was named after the biblical prophet who resisted God's call and doubted his own abilities. The Jonah complex pushes us to forget or to deny the talents within the soul and to avoid our own greatness. As a spiritual advisor, Edgar Cayce often had people come to him. They were confused about the purpose of life and frustrated by an inability to find something meaningful. With his clairvoyance, Cayce was able to see deep within each person and could point out the talents and strengths that may have been ignored. Often, he was able to look into a person's past and call to mind important accomplishments. Each of those achievements required certain abilities and skills. He would bring them back into focus for the individual, with the reminder of the potential still in those gifts. Each of us is born with certain aptitudes and strengths, and even though these may have become stifled or distorted through childhood and adulthood, the pure talent still resides deep within the soul, ready to be reclaimed. For many of these innate talents, Cayce proposed an origin even further back than our infancy. In his spiritual philosophy, the human soul experiences reincarnation, a series of physical lifetimes, always in human form. Our inborn talents may not be a matter of genetics or good luck, but instead the result of a spiritual law which allows the human soul to carry over its hard-earned developments into a future lifetime. This theory of talents is part of the belief system of billions of people today. It also provides one explanation for childhood geniuses, such as Mozart or Renoir. Their gifts represented the accumulation of many past life experiences, as they demonstrated talents far beyond what they could have learned in their own lifetime.
For now, we won't be concerned about reincarnation and the development of talents in past lives, although it's one aspect of how Edgar Cayce saw the soul. Instead, we'll be focusing on starting an inventory of your talents, skills, strengths, and aptitudes that we can uncover from some simple exercises in the next few lessons. But for these exercises to work, you need to embrace the idea that you really are a talented person. Sometimes it may be hard for us to accept the fact that we truly are gifted. Modern society gives extraordinary attention and publicity to just a few artists, athletes, entertainers, scholars, and politicians who excel. Sometimes it may be easy to catch yourself making comparisons and saying to yourself, do I really have any strong points? Isn't someone else always better than I am? In moments like these, you need another way of looking at yourself. It's not a question of whether or not you're the very best at something. It's a question of what abilities you can draw upon to create and serve in the world. For your specific mission in life, with the people whose lives you were born to touch, you are the very best with your talents and skills. No one can live your spiritual purpose as well as you can. What kinds of insights did Casey give people about their talents? For him, even the most ordinary person was seen as gifted. Here's some examples. A 70-year-old housewife was told in her reading that she had a strong will, was a good conversationalist, had a love of beauty, and was a good judge of people. A 40-year-old engineer received this portrait of his talents: skill with mechanical things, the perception of details, intelligence, and a mystical bent. A 2-year-old boy was told in his life reading that he brought with them into this lifetime these 5 assets: an aptitude for political and economic affairs, fearlessness, communication skills, an ability to influence people, and a natural understanding of legal matters. But what exactly is a talent or aptitude? It's a special ability that makes something come easily or naturally. It's a way that the soul and spiritual forces touch material life, a window through which creative energy and spiritual sensitivity flow into physical experience. Imagine how your higher self is not yet able to express itself fully in your conscious physical life. However, a few of its qualities shine through. Your talents and aptitudes are like windows that let the light radiate in. Your talents probably include skills that you use on your job. Every occupation requires certain types of aptitude and skill. If your job demands talents you don't have, it's probably a strain on you. If you have abilities that aren't demanded by your profession, you may feel bored or frustrated. Talents are just as much an issue outside of work life. You draw upon your special abilities every hour of the day. These strengths and skills of your soul want to be used. In fact, you'll feel frustrated unless you make them a part of your interactions with other people. But talents and aptitudes can be misunderstood. Some people mistakenly assume they aren't very talented because they score less on tests of intelligence. Psychologists use tests that seem to indicate certain kinds of talent, for example, mathematical knowledge or verbal skills. But many talents go unmeasured this way. Tests for intelligence aren't going to be a very accurate description of your talents and soul strengths. In fact, 2 people with a genius-level IQ of 160 might very well have entirely different talents, just as surely as 2 people with an IQ score of 80. Another mistaken notion about talents is to equate them with interests. The two can be related, but they aren't the same. Sometimes you may be interested in things that directly make use of your talents, but just as often the two may not match. Without a doubt, interests are important. They show where you're inclined to put your attention and your energy. They may even indicate talents you'd like to develop in the future. How aware are you of the exact talents that equip you to fulfill your mission in life? Are there hidden assets buried within your soul and long forgotten? Or are they the same strong points you already know about yourself? Probably the answer is a mixture of both. Here's how one woman, a professor and counselor herself, described the process of identifying her own list of talents and strengths.
Let's talk about you, Paula. How did you find your key talents that led to your career?
Well, probably a number of different sources. I began to pay more attention to the compliments that people gave me that revealed their perceptions about what I was competent in, what they liked about what I did and said, and that I was perceptive, that I understood people's motives, that I was good at problem solving. So I began to examine that more carefully in myself. My dreams also consistently pointed me in the direction of valuing my intuitive side, even over my intellectual side, which I had always pursued. And so I began to try to incorporate that more into my work life. I also looked at the people I admired and the skills and abilities that they had that I wanted, and realized that I had some of those same abilities that could be developed. And finally, I looked at the things that I was interested in, that I read about, that I was curious about, and these all began to point me more and more in the direction of counseling, so that I even changed the field in which I taught from communication to counseling.
In the next 3 lessons, you'll be completing a series of exercises to hone in on your own talent list. But let's consider why it's important to have this list before trying to jump in and write a mission statement. According to Edgar Cayce, every soul shares a common purpose: to bring the qualities of the Spirit into expression in the material world. He liked to call it the work to bring the infinite into the finite. So imagine this playful analogy, one that shows how we all have the same purpose in life, but we each have a unique mission that's part of that common purpose. Suppose, as an analogy, that the purpose of life, yours and everyone else's, is to bake bread. We're all here in the physical world with the purpose to be bakers. However, our mutual calling to be bakers of bread doesn't end with just that general statement. Each one of us is here to specialize and become a master baker of one particular type of bread. Maybe it's whole wheat, rye, cinnamon raisin, sourdough, pumpernickel, or something else. We each have a specialized mission within the big picture of why we're all here. What kind of bread are you called on to bake? Before you decide, it might be a good idea to check the cupboard in your kitchen and see what ingredients you have available. That's like conducting an inventory of your talents and strengths. If you speculate that your expertise will be in baking cinnamon raisin bread, only to discover that your cupboard lacks any cinnamon or raisins, then your chances of success are nil. First, find out what you've got to work with. This is a simple metaphor, but it illustrates just how crucial it is to make a list of your talents and strengths before trying to formulate a statement of your life's purpose. And that's exactly what you're ready to do now. So let's move on to Lesson 5.